Welcome to a brand new TV show spoiler review here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dittenberg. Today I am breaking down the season 2 finale, episode 8 of DC Studios' Peacemaker on Max. The episode is titled Full Nelson. So my name is Max Dittenberg. Welcome back, everyone, to Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, guys, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do these type of TV show reviews, movie reviews, added theater reactions, break down the box office every Monday, and I also do movie franchise rankings. So if you're new, please subscribe and ring that bell. Also, please comment down below. What are your thoughts on season 2 of Peacemaker? Was it better, worse than season 1? Where do you want to see these characters next? Do you want a season 3 of Peacemaker, or are these characters ready to go back to the big screen? Love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section down below. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. So I have been very vocal about this season. I was already very mixed on the show, but then I thought episode 6 really reeled me back in. I thought it was one of the best episodes of the series. Episode 7 was a very mixed bag episode, and episode 8 ends on, in my opinion, a mixed bag note, leading to me a very mediocre season of Peacemaker. And what's tough here to mess up, in my opinion, is this is a show. Again, this is full spoiler. If you've not seen episode 8, be wary here of the spoilers. I'm going to break down the episode in a bit. I really, for the most part, want to give my general thoughts. And this is a show that is really hard to mess up because I care about the 11th Street kids, all of them. They're all interesting, have good dynamics, in particular with one another. Especially the Adebayo and Chris relationship is really more fleshed out in this season. Love that dynamic. And I care about the characters. This season focused heavily on basically all of the characters doing their own things, figuring out things on their own. And what that does is it splits off the 11th Street kids. And when so many shows that have such good ensembles, the problem is when they keep going, for some reason, people's ideas, let's split up the groups. Not just are the characters on this show split up, they're just not on screen together as much as the first season. Because they were, again, all together, doing everything together in season 1. And I think I've come to a conclusion, which is I love James Gunn, the filmmaker, the writer, but this was the first red flag to me from a creative perspective since becoming the head of DC Studios. I really liked Creature Commandos. I really liked Superman. Didn't love those two projects, but really enjoyed them. This was the first time I could feel James Gunn's writing coming more from as a studio head than as a full-time creator. What I mean by that is when James Gunn did The Suicide Squad and the first season of Peacemaker, he was not running DC Studios. He wasn't worried about setting up these characters to appear in other projects. He could make very much a self-contained story. Yes, in the Suicide Squad, some of those characters are from Suicide Squad, but those two projects were very, you know, not as connected to the broad scale of the DCEU. Now, after those successes, they were used in other cameo roles, but that wasn't Gunn's choice, and Gunn didn't really like the fact that his characters were being used in thankless cameos, like in Shazam: Fury of Gods, for example, which has now been, kind of Gunn has kind of eliminated that from the mythology here. I just feel like this was a season that had a hard time balancing, focusing on Peacemaker, the 11th Street Kids as a group, and it also really wanted to set up the DCU at the same time. And again, what really makes self-contained was the word I was looking for. The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, you don't really have had to watch any other DC projects to get you locked in to those two projects. You can watch them on their own, enjoy them, love them, and then kind of move on with your life. They don't really feel like they're in this big cinematic universe. Peacemaker season 1 really did not. Again, yes, it's following the Suicide Squad, and yes, to the Justice League cameo at the end of season 1. They do. That's more for a bit than setting up Peacemaker being friends with the Justice League. This season is trying to balance focusing on the similar stories as season one, but also trying to set up, and you just can't do it all, especially in an 8 episode show where most of the episodes are 30 to 35 minutes. And this episode was nearly an hour, which got me, excuse me, which got me excited. But this was a odd episode because there were amazing character moments in this season finale. In particular, when the 11th Street Kids reunite, sit down with Chris, and Adebayo gives an extremely impassioned and loving speech to Chris. And the fact where she had so much, she really had no hope in a lot of people in society, and she found hope in her life because of Chris. She looks at people differently because of Chris. And it's hard not to get emotional thinking about it or watching the scene. It is a powerful scene. Even Gunn talking about it on the post episode thing they do for HBO was getting emotional talking about the scene. Danielle Brooks went on is for me the best actress and actor on the entire show, and when she brings it all the way and gets these type of opportunities like she did in this episode, she absolutely knocks it out of the park. And Adebayo and Chris was for me the best dynamic in this series because they're in the season one they could have been more polar opposites compared to the rest of the group because again she wasn't a criminal, she was just Walter's daughter, and she's come such a long way, such belief in her life and her choices, and she believes all of that, or a lot of that, is contributed to being friends with Chris and meeting Chris and being around him and learning about him. Harcourt and Chris, we learn about what happened on the boat. I really like that it wasn't just like they had sex and he's like, did that mean anything to you? They went to this concert after a meal. It looked like Harcourt was really letting herself loose and finally just opening things up. Her and Chris do kiss, but she stops it and she leaves the night. From that on, he was not seeing Harcourt, and he really felt bad. They just do feel very entwined together. Now, also in this episode, we get the fact where Argus is trying to open up all the doors in this multiverse portal that obviously Chris had, and Harcourt has her job back, and Economos has his job back. But a lot of these people, the military people going in to open these doors, are basically sacrificing themselves. They think for food and resources for the American people, but it turns out it is a planet that they're calling Salvation, and it's going to be a prison for metahumans. And this they went back to basically the same kind of not court scene, but the same military scene from Superman, except this time obviously Lex is not there. Flag is running this meeting, and Flag's now become very anti-meta-human. He's now learning from Lex, wanting Lex to do all whatever Lex wants. He's now doing. He's laughing. He's not really taking anyone seriously. He's let his rage and vendetta kind of override his whole persona at this point. That leads Sasha to breaking away, and that leads Sasha to joining the agency with the 11th Street Kids. Now, towards the end of the episode as well, I guess there's no like a big. That's what I think it is with this season. There's not a big villainous threat. Obviously, in the first season, there were the butterflies as well as Chris's Nazi father. Those were big stakes. And this show, just season, really didn't have many stakes because the big multiverse thing was really closed off very quickly. And this whole episode, there's no threat that the characters are going against. They're never like, let's go inside and stop Argus. They're never doing that. They just kind of want to start their own thing. And I think it takes away from any intensity that this series could have, that there's no bigger threat that the group is going up against other than sometimes they're mad at Argus. It's really more a self-reflection season, and I think it makes it feel more distant on a story level, in my opinion. And you feel like everything's going well. They start the agency. This also includes the 11th Street Kids, Tim Meadows' character, Agent Flurry, Judo Master, and Sasha doing this agency. So finally, and Leota breaks up officially with her girlfriend. And then you also have a scene with, sorry, Chris and Harcourt, where he says, "You just got to tell me if this means anything, if that meant anything to you." And she said it meant the world to her. It always has, it always will mean a lot to her. And clearly they're a couple now based off the scenes they were showing. The show ends on a big cliffhanger, which is one day when Chris is walking out of his home, he gets captured by Argus, and he becomes the first human test subject for this prison. So he is caught. Gunn says that you're going to be seeing these characters again in the future of the DCU. Some people are like, do the ratings matter to this show? Probably not, because James Gunn is the studio head for DC. If he wants to do another season of Peacemaker, he's probably going to be allowed to do another season of Peacemaker. Um, and I don't know. I think this is more setting up Superman than Peacemaker season three. The ratings have not been strong for this season. And this is such a frustrating season overall, as you can tell as I'm trying to get my thoughts out. I loved the first season of the show. What a surprise. As someone who's in the wrestling world, not a big John Cena fan, he is really made to play this part, and he's terrific. I absolutely care for the 11th Street kids when they're together. Sadly, Vigilante really has nothing going on this season, which was very disappointing. Economos, I thought, had a good season. Hardcore, Jennifer Holland, from an acting perspective, had an amazing season. Danielle Brooks' Adebayo is always good. The acting is always good on the show. And there are amazing emotional character moments. I just felt like this show was very caught in between of which direction do we want to go. And it felt like Gunn, like last week, felt like a finale to a season, and then he crammed in like it feels like an entire season of Peacemaker and rushing it so quickly into an hour episode of the finale. And this season as a whole just felt extremely rushed, where most of the heavy topics were surface level, and it's all about just keep getting to the next thing as quickly as possible and not letting. And while we sit in character moments on a story level, we are zooming by so many important, big time story moments in order to just keep adding things on for setup things for season three or the future of the DCU. So I assume Peacemaker will be back in Superman Man of Tomorrow. I wonder if the entire Peacemaker main ensemble will be in Superman Man of Tomorrow. Obviously, it looks like Flag will probably be there as well. But this was a disappointing season, man. Again, is this awful television? No, there are some really great moments here, but this was a complete step down from season one, and honestly, a hot mess of a season because there were some really high highs and there's some really frustrating lows that sometimes pulled me out of the show. It just couldn't decide if it wanted to be a fully self-contained Peacemaker show, and then Gunn, being the DC studio head, creating this whole new universe, he's trying to set so much stuff up for future installments, it overcrowds a Peacemaker show. And it makes me very nervous for the next set of DC projects because, Superman for me is not a top tier DC film in my opinion because it's not just a Superman, it's setting up so many other things. It's my biggest problem with Superman is that there's too many things going on than just focusing in on Superman. And Peacemaker I thought did it even worse because I actually really like Superman. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I stand by that. And I love this. Even though I do like season one of Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad better than Superman and Creature Commandos. It's just a very frustrating season because I was really excited for season two, and it just left me wanting a lot more. And I think we're in a period in TV shows now, especially in the superhero genre. Just finish a start to finish of a TV show in a season. Stop leaving so many cliffhangers and setups for future things. Like you can have a beginning, middle, and end and still leave some breadcrumbs for a next season. But so many shows pull back on things in order to keep it intact for future installments. It's so frustrating. If you want to have all these ideas, you don't have to cram it all in one season, but feel like we have a satisfying ending. And this season does not have a satisfying ending. So overall, I am underwhelmed by the season. I would give it like a 2.5. It's a very mixed bag, mediocre season of television. I am shocked that I feel this way. I started to feel this way in the first couple episodes. Midway through, like episodes like 5 and 6, really brought me back on board. Felt like top tier Peacemaker. And these last 2 episodes for me left a lot to be desired. So that's my thoughts on season two, episode eight, and also just overall season two review of Peacemaker. Thanks for joining me. I know I missed a couple episodes in the season due to schedule conflicts, but I was happy to be able to cover the last couple episodes of the show and really expand my thoughts in this review more than the other ones because it is the final episode. I can finally get my general overall thoughts because some people halfway through a season of television say, this sucks, I'm done with it. For me, I don't look at TV like that way. Even if I don't like the beginning of a TV show, I need to finish it. I don't think it's fair to judge a season of television off of one episode, off of two episodes. I think it's fair, in my viewpoint, to finish a season, then have a full idea on a show. So that's why I went further into detail. Thanks for joining me on this review of Peacemaker. If you're new again, like, subscribe, comment down below, and I can't wait to talk to you guys in another video very soon.